Okay, now in this packet, no, we're not solving every one of these equations. Heck, there's 32 of them. I want you to fill out a couple things here, okay? And in this box, just list how many answers x has. Well, I don't see any powers, so there's only one, okay? So there's just one solution. Because all we have is x to the first power. That's a 1. You don't need to put a 1 if you don't have any powers, okay? Okay, and that's just another x to the first power, so I don't put the arrow on that, okay? So, if there's just one answer because there's only one type of x, power, then this is a non-factoring problem, okay? So put NFP. That basically means you don't need any boxes, okay? Now in my next problem, 7x to the second power plus 14x equals 0. Well, here I see a second power, so there's got to be two answers. So I marked the second powered x with an arrow. Now, do we have any x's that are not to the second power? Yeah, right here. Okay, so this is a factoring problem. Now, make sure you have 0, okay? So it's set, okay? So how many terms do I have? I have 2, okay, here and here. So that would be GCF and DOPS. That's what those would be the boxes I use. So that's basically what you're doing. Listen, how many answers and then what your boxes would be if you have to factor. Now, if there's only one answer, I wouldn't factor. I'd just minus 4x and minus 4x from here, okay? Now, the next problem, I see there's two x's to the second, so we got two answers. So I mark where the x to the second's at with an arrow. Now, do I have any x's that are not to the second power? Yeah, right here, okay? So we would need boxes to solve the equation because we have x to the second and then an x that's not to the second. So 0 means set, okay? And there are 1, 2, 3 terms. So this would be GCF and T. That's the point of this, is just looking at the equation and deciding how you're going to solve it. Okay, x to the second, there'd be two answers. I'm not going to find the two answers. I just know that there are two answers. So here's my x to the second. Now, do I have any x's that are not to the second? Yeah, right here. So how many boxes would we need? Well, or what boxes would we need? Well, see, I don't know this because it's not set, okay? See, these were set. This one's not. So I got to go blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. Now, if I need to set this, I take whatever's over on this side of the equals and make it opposite. So this 5 is negative now because it would have to come over here. So for x to the second, I have positive 5. For x, I have negative 5. I cross them out as I put them. Then for non-x's, we have negative 3. So I can see that now there are 3 terms. So that's GCF and T. Okay, my next problem, I don't see a power on the x, so there's only one answer, okay? And that's an NFP, non-factoring problem. Okay, here x to the second, so two answers. Do we have any x's not to the second? Yeah, right here. That one's not to the second. So I know I would have to use my factoring boxes, but it's not set. So I go blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. I switch anything over here to the opposite, so negative. So for x second, I have 4. For regular x, I have negative 3. Remember, it is negative. And then for non-x numbers, I have negative 7. There's 3 terms, so that would be GCF and T. Okay, next problem. Oh, there's that second power, so 2 answers. Now, do I have any x's not to the second power? Yeah, right here. Okay. So we have the 0. We see equals 0, so it's set. So there are 3 terms. So I don't need to set it with the blanks, okay? It's already set, so 3 terms. That would be GCF, T. Okay, I don't see x to any powers, so there's just one answer, okay, because here's an x not to a power, okay. So, again, it's an NFP, non-factoring problem. Okay, my next problem. Oh, x to the second. So the equation has two solutions, okay. So you got x second. Now, do you have any x's that are not to the second? Yeah, right here. So it's a factoring problem. It is a factoring problem. But I don't know what boxes I need, okay, whether it's GCF DOPS or GCF T, until I set the equation equals 0. Right now it's not set. So blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. So for x to the second I have 4. We have to make this opposite. So for x I'd have negative 10. And since I don't have any numbers without x, I delete this. And that's 2 terms. So that one's a greatest common factor, and then your DOPS. Difference of perfect squares. Okay, now in the next problem, I don't see x to any power. So again, there's only one answer, okay, because we just have this x not to a power, and that x is not to a power. So don't put an arrow on that. I've already marked the x that's not to a power. So again, this is an NFP. Okay, this problem right here, my x is to the second, so 2 answers. Okay, do we have any x's not to the second? Yeah, right here. Okay, so it's a factoring problem, but I need to set the equation. Right now it's not equal to 0. It has to be equal to 0 for you to know what boxes you would use. So blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. Switch these to their opposites, and this negative is a positive now. Okay, so x to the seconds, I have the negative 4. For regular x, I have 5. Then for non-x, I have a positive 3, a positive 6, which I add, and I get 9. So I can see there are 3 terms, so that would be GCF and T. Okay, x is second, it's there, okay. So do I have any x's that are not to the second? Yeah, right here, okay. So that's 2 different x's we'd need to factor, okay. But I don't know, I gotta figure out how many terms. Right now it's not set, so I don't know. So blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. Now switch these to their opposites, negative, and that positive becomes a negative. So x second, I have negative 4. For regular x, I have 7. And then for the non-x numbers, I have negative 3 plus negative 12. Okay? Might want a calculator for that one. Negative 15. Okay, and so all 3 of them are filled out. That's 3 terms, so that's GCF and T. Okay, next problem. I don't see x to any powers, okay, so there's only one answer. So if there's only one answer, this is a non-factoring problem, okay. X is second, so there's 2 answers. So we have x is second. Do we have any x's not to the second? Yeah, right here. Okay, this is not set though. I don't see the 0, okay. So blank x is second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. Now switch that 10 to a negative and fill out your blanks. So we got 3 for x is second, negative 6, then I'm able to add 10 and negative 9. 10 plus negative 9 and negative 10, sorry, is negative 1. Okay, so that would be 3 terms, so that'd be GCF and T. Okay, next problem, there's that second power. By the way, if there's a third power, there's 3 answers, which we might see later on. Okay, not in this packet, but not till later on. Okay, so I have x to the second. Do I have any other x that's not to the second? Yeah, right here. So you would have to factor, okay? And my zero's here, so that means I'm set. Okay, I can go right here. I don't need that blank crap. Okay, so how many terms we got? We have 2, so it would be GCF dot. So basically here's listing how many answers, and then over here is what you'd use to get the answers. Okay, on an NFP you just minus 7x and then minus 7x from 1x, then it'd be, and then minus 2, and you just divide. Okay, this one, there's the x to the second, 2 answers. So mark where your x to the second's at. Now, do you have any x's that are not to the second? Yeah, right here. Okay. So again, you would need your factoring boxes, but which ones would they be? Well, your equation's set, okay? And you have 3 terms. So that's GCF and T. Okay, I don't see a power on the x's, so there's only one answer, and this is a NFP. Which would mean I just clear the 5x, minus it from 6, so it'd be 1x plus 3, and then minus 3 with your negative 6, and then divide. Okay, next one, there's that second power, 2 answers. So mark where the second power's at. Do you have any x's not to the second power? Yeah, right here. Okay, so it's a factoring problem. You got to find your 0. It's there, so it's set. That's 2 terms, so that would be GCF and DOPS. Okay, x to the second's there, so mark it. And do we have any x's not to the second? Yeah, right here. Okay, so we need to have the equation set. It's not. The 6 is over here. Okay, so I go blank x squared plus blank x plus blank equals 0. Make that 6 opposite into a negative. So x second I got 7. Regular x I got negative 4. And then constants, non-x numbers, I have negative 6. And now I see clearly there are 3 terms. So that would be GCF T. Because what you're going to use, if you have to factor, you really don't know until you have the equation set at 0. Okay, x to the second's here. So here's x second. Any x is not to the second? Yeah, right here. Okay, so the equation's not set though. So I have to set it myself. Blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. So I'd want to get that 7 out of there. So I just put a negative 7 because I would minus 7, but that's just like a negative 7, and we'd take it from 4. Because if you take 4 minus 7, that's going to be the same as 4 plus negative 7. So x second, we got 4. X, we got negative 3. And non-x numbers, we have positive 4 plus negative 7. That's negative 3. So that tells me there's 3 terms, so that would be GCF and T. Okay, next problem. I have x to the second. Okay, so I have x second. Do I have any x's not to the second? Yeah, right here. Okay, so if I have any x's not to that highest power, okay, we need to have the equation set. Right now it's not. Blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. Then both these got to move over here, so make them opposite. Negative, and this positive is a negative. So x second, I got 5. Regular x, I got positive 3 and negative 2. I'm going to add those. That's the same as taking 3 minus 2, which is 1. And then not constants, we have negative 5. So I see there are 3 terms, GCF and T. Okay, I don't see a power on the x. Okay, there's no second power, so there's one answer, which makes this an NFP, non-factoring problem. This is the only x I have. I dot it, circle it, and go from there. But remember, we're not solving. Okay, my next problem. Oh, there's a second power, 2 answers. So mark one of your x to the second powers. I know there's 2, you just have to mark 1. Now go find an x somewhere that's not to the second power. You found it, so unfortunately that means you have to have the equation set at 0. Right now you don't. So blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. Make that 4 negative, and then combine like terms. So x second, I have negative 3 and negative 4. So we add negative 3 plus negative 4, and that's negative 7. Okay, x numbers, we have our 8, and then constants, we have 2. So 3 terms, that would be GCF and T. Okay, again, I see no power, so that's one answer, and that's a non-factoring problem. Okay, I don't see a power, so there's one answer, and again, that's an NFP. If you don't have a power, we wouldn't have to factor. Okay, we got x to the second. Okay, there's 2 answers. So here's my x to the second. How many x's not to the second? Yeah, right here. And we have our 0, so it's set already with 2 terms. So that would be GCF and DOPS, difference of perfect squares, because I would have to break it apart by factoring. Okay, x to the seconds here. So mark one of the x to the seconds. Do you have any x's not to the second? Yeah, right here. So I know I'm going to have to factor this. Okay. So I don't have this set, though, like I did up here. So blank x second as your highest plus blank x plus blank equals 0. Okay, so mark your 5 as negative, and now you can just add the like terms. So x second, you got 3 plus negative 5. It's negative 2. Okay, and then x, you have positive 4. And constants, you have negative 3. So that's 1, 2, 3 terms. So GCF and T would be used to solve it. Okay, I don't see x to any powers. There's one answer. Makes this an NFP. Okay, because you don't have x to any other power other than 1. Okay, you have, yeah, I know I got x of first here and here, so those are like terms. We can combine those. Okay, x seconds here. Do I have any x's not to the second? Because I know I got x to the second. Yeah, right here. So those are not like terms. Okay, we're set. So that's 2 terms. So that would be GCF and DOPS. Okay, now x to the seconds here. That's 2 answers. And we have x to the second here. And any x is not to the second. Yeah, I mean, you could mark here or here, but they're both not to the second, okay? So I know I have to factor. Now, that means we have to set the equation. Right now, it's not set to 0. So blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. So x second, I got a 1, okay? So 1, and that's it. Regular x, oh yeah, we got to make these opposite. 14's negative, 3's negative. So anytime you list that out, anything over here, you could do the opposite on either side. I just pick right here because usually that's where the 0 is I have. Okay, so x is I take my negative 7 and add the negative 3, negative 10. And then non-x numbers, I have a positive 3 and negative 11. So I take positive 3, add negative 11, and I get negative 8. Or no, sorry. Positive 3 and add negative 14, I get negative 11. So 3 terms, greatest common factor, and T-chart. Okay, I don't see any powers. There's one answer, so this is an NFP. Okay, my next problem, I have x second. That's 2 answers. Now, do we have any x's not to the second? Okay, yeah, right here. So we have to set this, okay? So we don't see the 0, so equals 0. Blank x squared plus blank x plus blank. So for x to the seconds, we have just 8. But make these opposite, negative, and that positive is now a negative. x, we take negative 2 plus negative 4. Get rid of those, and then not constants, you just have your negative 3. Okay, so 3 terms, I'd go with GCF and T. Okay, now let's go to the other sheet. It's just one-sided. Now we're actually going to solve the 4 equations. Okay, so do what you did before. You see the second power, there's 2 answers. So you know you got x to the second. Now do you have any other x's not to the second? Yeah, right here. So we're going to need to make the boxes, okay, to solve it. Now, the zero's here, so it's set. So I go ahead and make my boxes. If it's not set, then you have to do your blanks and count the terms. But right now, I see 2 terms because it's already set equal to 0. So again, the 2 terms, we go GCF and dots. Okay, now the GCF, do you have a negative in front? Yeah, you do. So negative. Do you have x connected to all terms? Yeah, we do. This one's to the second, this one's to the first, so we take the smaller one to the first. Then we're going to go 4 and 40 on that GCF calculator. Okay. Remember, if x doesn't have a power on the GCF, it's technically to the first. Okay, so you want to maybe put first when you actually have to solve it. I didn't in that other sheet because I wasn't solving. Okay, so 4 and 40. The greatest common factor we have is 4. Okay, so I drag out negative 4x to the first, and then negative 4x to the first, negative 4x to the first. Now, negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. Now, you got to take 2 minus 1. Don't leave it x to the second, because you got to take 2 minus 1, and that's x to the first. Okay? Then I take positive 40 divided by negative 4, and that's negative 10. So I'm going to put minus 10. And I can forget about the x's because they're to the same power. Okay? Now, dots. Okay? Remember the dots rule. Do you even have x to the second? Because you're not looking there anymore. Is that x even to the second? No, it's to the first, so this is an NP, not possible. Okay, so to get the 2 answers, I put F1 and F2. Now when I do my F labels, those first powers should go away. Okay, and then I just set each one equal to 0. So negative 4x could equal 0, or 1x minus 10 could equal 0. Then I dot my x's, both of them, and circle them. And then divide by negative 4, divide by go straight to division. 0 divided by negative 4 is 0. Okay, then I plus 10, 0 plus 10 is 10. And then you can divide by 1, but it just keeps it at 10. So 0 and 10 are the 2 answers we get. Okay, my next problem, 4x to the second minus 100 equals 0. Okay, so we have 2 answers because the x to the second. Now we're going to factor this, so make sure the equation's set. Okay, anytime there's 2 answers at this point in the class, okay, we're set. So now how many terms do we have? We have 2, so it's GCF dots. Okay, so GCF, I don't see the negative in front. Okay, negative in front, no. X connected to all terms, no, not on the 100, so I don't put X this time. And then 4 and 100, I get a GCF of just 4, but it's just 4, not 4x. You can't put an x with the 4, okay? So you're just going to divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and we're going to keep that x to the second because I'm not putting x to the first down there like I did up top. So that's going to stay to the second. Then I take negative 100 divided by 4, and that's 25 minus 25. Okay, now the dots. Do you have x to the second? Yes, I do. Okay, yes, I do. Plus, minus. So if the x is to the second, we go x. Is the second number negative? Yeah, 25 is negative. Turn this paper over to see if those numbers are perfect. By the two numbers, I'm talking 1 and 25. So 1's perfect because that's 1 times 1. And 25's perfect, that's 5 times 5. Now you guys are going to want to drop this 4 down, okay? Now does the 4 have an x? No, it doesn't. It's just 4, so it doesn't get an F label. These are my F labels right here, okay? So I set each of them equal to 0 and solve. So dot your x, circle, dot the x, circle, minus 5, 0 minus 5 is negative 5. So we got 1 times x equals negative 5, and then dividing by 1 just keeps it at negative 5. Okay, then plus 5, 0 plus 5 is 5, so 1 times x equals 5. Dividing by 1 just keeps it at 5. So negative 5 and 5. Remember, I do put the GCF down here, but if it doesn't have x, I don't put an F label on it. Okay, next one. How many answers? There's 2 of them. From now on, we're solving. Okay, we're solving these equations. You need to come up with the answers down in the corner. So there's 2 answers. So with the 2 answers, I know I need to look for the 0 to make sure it's set. And then count how many terms you have. 1, 2, 3. You don't count the 0 as a term. So that's 3 terms this time. So that's the GCF and the table. Okay, so GCF, same rules apply. Negative in front, nope. X connected to all the terms. Well, here, and here's to the first. When you're checking for X connected to terms, you might want to put powers on all of them. That doesn't have anything, so I do not want to put X here. Okay. Then GCF calculate 1, 3, and 28. Okay, I got a 1. Okay, so if the GCF's just a plain old 1, we just don't do that step. Okay, then my chart is always A, B, C. Multiply the A by the C. So I take positive 1, and 28's negative. So you have to multiply by negative 28, which is negative 28. So because I got a negative, it's a minus. And the minus we're trying to get to equal 3, and 3 is negative, okay? So 1 and 28, 28 minus 1 is not 3. Now divide by 2, 2 and 14. 14 minus 2 is not 3, it ain't even close, it's 12. 28 divided by 3 is a decimal. 28 divided by 4 is 7. Okay, 7 minus 4 is 3, so we have found them. Now my 3 being negative means 7's negative. We got a negative up here, so the signs are the opposite. So minus 7 plus 4. Now A up there is 1 all the way up here because you didn't do anything here. It's 1x to the second. So since A is 1, we're gonna go 1x and 1x. Don't put x to the second down here. You're breaking the x to the second in half, okay? It's like you're breaking it into an x times another x. So plus 4 minus 7. Now you can GCF 1 and 4, but I'm just telling you it's going to get 1 whenever 1's one of the numbers. Okay, so that stays 1x plus 4. Then 1 and 7. The GCF's 1 again. So 1x minus 7. Okay, we did not have a GCF, so this is my first factor, and this is my second factor. So 1x plus 4 could equal 0, or 1x minus 7 could equal 0. Okay, so minus 4, 0 take away 4. Remember, when you're adding, subtracting, it doesn't stay at 0. That's a division multiplication thing. Dividing by 1 keeps it at negative 4. Plus 7, that's 7. And dividing by 1 keeps us at 7. So negative 4 and positive 7. Okay, next problem, look through it. You have x to the seconds in the house, so those. So we know we're going to make boxes, but first I got to make sure the 0's there so it's set. Now if 0 wouldn't be here, I'd have to make whatever's over here opposite and draw out my blank x squared plus blank x plus blank, then do the boxes. But we're set. So we have 3 terms. So GCF and my T table, because there's 3. Remember, there's 2 GCF dots. GCF negative front, nope. Okay, let's see if you got x on everything. Well, we have x second, we have x the first, and that doesn't have an x, so I can't put x down there. So 12, 22, and 20 into that calculator, and we get 2. But it's just 2, it's not 2x, so you just put the number 2 right there. Now again, 12 divided by 2 is 6, but since I'm not putting the x to the first, that's going to stay x to the second. 22 divided by 2 is 11. Positive 22 divided by positive 2 is positive 11. So plus 11. Again, there's no x of first, so that x of first stays connected to the 11. The negative 20 divided by 2 is negative 10. So I put minus 10. And I can ignore that. Now the ABC is right here, okay? So I take positive 6 times negative 10. That's negative 60. Again, I got another negative, so it's another minus, and I'm trying to get 11. And remember, 11's positive. You're not trying to get 22. After you've divided, you're going with the 11 now, because you look at between your A and your C, and that's the number you're trying to get it to. Okay, 60 minus 1 is not 11. 2 and 30. 30 minus 2 is not 11. We'll get there. I know the 2 right now that work. 20 minus 3 is not 11. 4 and 15. 4 times 15, 60. And 15 minus 4 is 11. So we found the 2 factors. Now put a plus on the 15. And negative right there. So that's negative. So we got they're opposites. So negative. Okay, now our A is a 6x to the second power. Okay, so we start off, we go 6x, 6x, and then minus 4 plus 15. Okay, now the 6 and the 4 can be reduced by 2. So that becomes 3x. By the way, in this part here, you just keep that sign the same. It's not going to change because we're not going to be dividing by any negatives here. So 6 and 15. When you divide by negative, the sign would change, but they don't. So 3. So it's 2x plus 5. Now we did have a GCF here of 2, so I do put that down there just like I've always told you, but I'm not going to label it with F because it doesn't have an X variable. So F1, F2. So I can set these 2 factors equal 0. Again, you don't have to put this, but all I did with this is just rewrote it in factored form. Okay, it's like taking an 8 and writing it as 2 times 4. I mean, it's still 8. I just wrote it in 2 factors. Okay, so 3x minus 2 equals 0, or 2x plus 5 could equal 0. So dot, circle, plus 2 plus 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. Now I divide by the 3, okay, not the 2. So it's 2 divided by 3. That'd be 0.6 repeating. So just put 0.6 with a repeater bar over the 6. And then minus 5, minus 5. Remember, if 0 plus 5 is 5, 0 minus 5 can be negative 5. So 2.x equals negative 5. Divide by 2, divide by 2. Negative 5 divided by 2 is negative 2.5. So at the end of the day, those are the answers.